And we're on. First things first. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for taking a bit of time. Really appreciate it. Hope things are well. And how is prep for Worlds going? 3 weeks out.
Thanks for having me on. And my time is your time, so take advantage of me for this next hour. Prep for
Absolutely.
Worlds is really good. I don't know. Um, it's hard for me to know what people know about me because I know so little about other people that it feels weird to assume. But I think that's what we all do is we assume everybody knows everything about us. So. But anyway, for those who haven't really followed me, I won OSG World Strongest Man in 2019. There was no OSG in 2020 because of COVID, and then in 2021, I missed first place by 1 point. I don't like to say I came in second. I like to say I missed the win by 1 point. Ricky didn't win. I
Oh, that,
lost. So
well, as Joe Schofield put it, what was it like losing World's Strongest Man? But we'll
okay,
we'll
that
come
was
to
really
all that.
funny.
Yeah,
Just,
yeah.
dude, it's not to get off topic, but I when I first met Joe and he came to stay with me in New York, he left and I was telling Shay, my girlfriend, I was like, I don't know, I think the dude might be a prick. I can't fucking tell. And even now, I go back and forth with it. I'm like, dude, what the fuck? He's like, oh, I'm just being sarcastic. I was like, I can't fucking tell. But
Yeah, it's a dry sense of humour.
yeah, but so I say that I won in 2019 and I missed the win in 2021 uh, because I took fourth place in 22 and then I took the year off in 23. So it's a bit of a sort of comeback for me, and it's been weird not competing for this long. Usually I get really obsessed with things. I sort of excel at them. Maybe not relative to somebody who's really good at things, but I like to get really obsessed with something. I can't think about anything else. It's all I focus on, and then I'll usually get sort of bored and walk away. But this is the longest I've really stuck with something, and I'm not really sure what it is about it that is making me stick around. I mean, I think the most obvious reason is because there's a world title. There's not too many things that you can reasonably become the best in the world at. But I feel like strongman is still one of those things. It's like getting in early on Bitcoin, like
Yeah.
you know what I mean. Like there is a chance you could be the best in the whole world, and that's kind of weird and special. It's a special time. Um, but I really anyone who follows me, I always say it, and I don't mean anything by it except the truth. And it's only true to some extent, but I really hate training. I don't enjoy it. It's not, some dudes just love being in the gym. They love the culture. They love just fucking ripping their body apart and doing that sort of stuff. And it's not that I don't enjoy it. I enjoy what it gets me. If I can win something, I look back and say that was worth it. I don't start from the beginning and say I love this and whatever comes may come, right? So it's just sort of a different perspective for me. Also, I train largely alone. I mean, I'm always in a gym, but even I own two gyms in New York, and even the gyms there, they were powerlifting gyms. So largely, I was training alone, and it's really it's really like sort of mentally taxing and emotionally taxing to be doing things in the sort of back corner of the gym that are better than almost everyone else in the world, and then have a group of this isn't against powerlifters or anything. It's just the nature of the gym I was in. Having a group of powerlifters lift what seems to me to be like no weight whatsoever, and they're all cheering each other on, and nobody's cheering for me. And it's really I think a lot of people I I think we all try to say the things we think we're supposed to say because of social media. But I've always said I'm not trying to be better than myself. I'm just trying to be better than everyone else. It's like, oh, you are your own competition or something like that. I'm like, no, I want to be impressive. I want people to look at me and think, holy shit, that was crazy. I want to do something cool and somebody like be in awe of me. So to do all this stuff alone for me is really hard. And I've been working with Shane Germain and MST Systems. Um, well, Shane personally, he's my coach for the last 2 years, and it's just been, for lack of a better way to put it, it's just been a slog. It's like 4 days a week, which is a lot for me. Um, maybe sometimes it was 5. There was like a 5th day of something, but it's, all these like very specific movement preps and all this stuff that we had to go through. And it's just repetition. It's just doing the same thing over and over for the most part. Things would change and progress, but um, that's like torture for me. But now that we're in the final stages, the last like 12 weeks or so, I've only done 3 days a week. So I'm on a 3-day schedule now, and that is working really perfect for me. And to finally answer your question, prep is going amazing. I'm the strongest I've ever been, and I feel really, really good.
That's good to hear. To be honest, a lot of the stuff there rang a note with me. The training alone, the slog, the not fully enjoying it all the time. Like I've just took 2.5 months away from strongman. I seem to have a dip after every comp where I just don't want to do it anymore.
Every time I take a full month off. I have to.
And I look at other people on social media and they're straight back in and they're smashing it, and I'm like, I
That's
know they
Josh
want to do
Lancaster
it.
right there.
Who's my coach? Yeah, so
Okay, yeah.
but what I'll do is I'll do like I do with every guest. We'll rewind it right back to the start to a point where you didn't do strongman, and what was your training and how did you find the sport strongman?
Sure. So, I grew up watching it on TV. Not the same way you guys did. It was mostly like reruns and stuff for us. It would be on our sports channel, like in the middle of the day and maybe in the summer. And I was born in 1982, so when I grew up, I had 36 channels to choose from, and that was it. So you would just
I'm
sit
only a
there and
couple of years behind you actually. I was
yeah.
85.
Okay, yeah, nice. So yeah, you know what it's like. You don't get to choose what you watch. Sometimes you say, "Well, I want to watch something. Let's see what there is." And sometimes you have to settle for something. And every once in a while, you get lucky, and World's Strongest Man is on. You're like, "Yes, I fucking I love this!" And I stop everything, and I'm just watching that. I always wanted to do it. I always felt like I'd be good at doing it. There are like 3 or 4 things in my life I feel like that when I saw them, I was just like, "Oh, I know I would be good at that thing." And doing strongman was one of them. But there's nothing sort of telling you, or there was nothing telling me that I could do it because I was tiny. I was very skinny, very small. And these are just I didn't even know that. It's not that I was sheltered, but it was a small town in the south, like in a southern state, without the internet. So there wasn't, and I went to church a lot. So there wasn't like a very vibrant sort of mental idea like about the world that was ingrained in me. It was a very small world, so there was nothing saying like, "Oh, I'm sure you could do that," or "That must exist for you," or anything like that. When I was 31, no, 33, I think. I just decided to start going to the gym. I was like, I need to go to the gym. I spent the entirety of my 20s in New York just drinking every single night, going out all the time, and it was loads of fun. When it wasn't any sort of like this is a problem and I need to stop it. It was just like sort of like okay, like I can't do that my whole life, and so I started to go. Maybe I jogged a little. I fucking hate jogging. Running and jogging might be the absolute worst because I have a really hard time quieting my mind. So if I do jog, I like to jog with someone, and then I don't shut up. I talk the whole time, which I'm sure you're getting a taste of now. So at 33, I started to go. I just went to the gym and just like back and buys, chest and tries. My mom has gone through a few marriages, and one of them was a bodybuilder who owned a gym. So he taught me about mind muscle connection and sort of. And I was much younger at the time. I was probably like 12 or 13. Back and buys, chest and tries. There's a shoulder day. There's a leg day. So that's how I thought of that sort of thing. So I was going to the gym, just doing that sort of stuff. And it wasn't very long into it, just a few months, where I was just kind of like, I don't know that I'll ever be an enormous guy, and I'm not very tall, so I'm not going to be like this tall, fucking beautiful, jacked dude. And maybe I don't care about that. I'm more curious how strong I can get. I want to see how much I can lift, right? So that was more appealing to me. So I think I was listening to Tim Ferriss. I was like into Tim Ferriss for a little bit. one of the OG quantified man kind of guys. He did 4 Hour Body. He originally wrote this book called The 4 Hour Work Week. But he's got a podcast. He always invites people on about how to optimize your life and shit like that. And it was about training, and then they had this guy on talking about powerlifting, and I was like, oh, powerlifting, you know. And they said something about that you should always have a competition on the horizon, so you always have something to train for. I was like, oh, that's a cool idea. Yeah, that makes sense. So I had like Googled how to get stronger, and it said, you know, squat, bench, powerlift, whatever. And then I heard this podcast, and it said you should sign up for something, so you have something to train for. And I said, well, that also makes sense. And so I like started looking up a powerlifting meet, and almost as I like hit search, I thought, well, if there were powerlifting meets for just some random guy like me, there must be strongman for some, right? Like maybe I could do strongman. So I just Googled strongman NYC, and sure enough, like something popped up. It was on like 28th Street at the time in Manhattan. There was a coach on there. You got one free visit with the coach, and I was like, I like immediately signed it up. I was like, that's what I want to do. I went in, and he was saying like, you know, what is it that you're gonna do? I said, I want to compete in something, and I want to win. That's what I want. He's like, okay. So I did. You know, I know I said that you know, drinking wasn't an issue, and it wasn't specifically, but I did allocate any money, or I didn't really allocate. I just essentially stopped drinking and spent money on a coach. It's because I was like, well, I'm spending the money anyway. All these things sort of fit together. I won't be drinking. I will be training. You know, I'm just moving the money over because I was going out just every fucking night. You know, and that's honestly that's really that's how it started, and that's how it kept going. I won that first show, which got me an invite to nationals. Then I went to one of our national championships, because we have two federations in this country, and I took second place in that one. Only out of two people though, so you know, not that big of a deal. I competed as a 150-pound athlete, which in kilos is like 69, 70, 144. Yeah, something like 68 kilos or something like that. So I was tiny, very tiny. And second place in that got me an invite to the Arnold. But at that point, it was all so much so fast. I was like, oh, I can't. I've already like, dude, I've been in the gym all the time. That's all I do now. It was kind of crazy for me. So I stepped back. I took a little time off. And it wasn't like, I don't know, it was, maybe I took a full year, maybe not quite a full year. And I just kind of was like, I really need to do that again. I really, you know, I really want to do it again. So I just signed up for something else, and just, that's it. And I haven't even competed that many times, honestly. Even counting all the OSGs, I've competed like fewer than 20 times, I think. I'm not a huge competition guy. It's a lot of work, you know. It's very, like I said, training, and especially training for something. Because this sounds so stupid, but I don't do this to have fun. It is fun if I look back on it, right? And I think it enriches my life and that sort of thing. But it's not like riding a roller coaster or something like that, where it's fun in the moment, right? So, you know, what I did is I forgot what the fuck I was saying, but whatever I was talking about.
I seen you put on your story the other day a series of pictures from probably the times that you were drinking all the time, and that's what sparked the question, really, because it's when you see people on Instagram, you just presume that they were always this athlete guy.
Yeah.
So I always find it interesting to see where the hell did this guy come from? What did he do before strongman? So it is quite interesting to see that. And you touched on your pathways. Now, I'm not too sure if you know our pathways, but we basically have, once you start going down the lightweight route, you know, some categories have a qualifier in England, and that gets you to England's Strongest Man. I'm presuming the same in Wales, Scotland, and Ireland. And then the top 5 or 6 from England's, Ireland's, Wales, Scotland, can't remember who I missed out then, go together for Britain's Strongest Man. And then the top however many Europe's, and then Worlds. What's the structure like in the US? Is it something similar, or?
That's really cool that you guys have it like that because, well, I guess it makes sense because it's just so many different countries and it's.
Yeah.
But so for us, we have essentially three things. We've got two federations that each have their own national championship, and if anyone listens to this and if this is on YouTube or something, you can comment if I'm a little bit off about this, but I won't go into great detail. But Strongman Corporation was owned, I want to say, by Willie Wessels with his wife Dion. They divorced. She kept that federation in the divorce, and then he started United States Strongman. So it's it always pisses me off. Like, oh, we have like a divorced couple, and that's why we have like two random federations. And it's always been this thing. It's like, which one do you do? Which one's this one's heavier? No, this one's heavier. And it just seems so silly. But each of those have their own national championships. Strongman Corporation um, is the pathway to the Arnold in the U.S. So you would have to win. Until recently, you would just have to win a local show, which got you an invite to nationals, and then you'd have to place at nationals to go to the Arnold. Now it's you have to compete in a local show to get an invite to a regional show, and the regional show gets you an invite to the national show, and that will get you an invite to the Arnold. Um,
Okay.
United States Strongman, they just have a national championship, and they have something they call Worlds, which isn't. I mean, I guess it is whatever you call it, but I won USS Worlds, and there were only Americans there. I think Carl Sherry went once. I can't remember who else. Like, he'll invite people in, but they don't always come. So the year that I won USS Worlds, it was just a bunch of Americans. It was all the same guys from nationals because all of the top 10 at nationals just went and did worlds, and it was like, there was money. I got a little bit of money, but I don't give a fuck about competing for money personally. And that's really, I think that's it. That's the only like sort of little pathways we have. There's PSL, which just is its own thing.
So before we start, what I was going to do is go through each of the OSGs with you. But before that, I just wondered what the athlete you was back then when you first done, a first few competitions, and the athlete you are now. What would you say has been your biggest progressions, whether that's in any sort of event or strength or mental attitude, or where's the biggest progressions come?
I mean, I hope this isn't a bad answer because it seems like a too obvious of an answer, but I've just gotten so much stronger. And the reason I choose strength is because I've always been incredibly athletic. I've always had a very natural sort of relationship with my body. My mind and my body work very well together. When my body doesn't do what I tell it, it's very confusing to me because it's so rare. My body almost always does what I say, right? I'm very in sync with that sort of thing. So it's not, I could say my pressing's gotten better, and it has, but it's not like leaps and bounds. I mean, it's definitely better, but everything's sort of gotten better. But just being stronger is really the thing, because it's not like, because other things have regressed, if anything. I used to like go in and just be so excited to be doing this new thing, and I was always fucking around in the gym, and I was such a happy-go-lucky guy. But I feel like my mood and my over the years has sort of declined. I mean, I'm also just getting a little bit older, so it's hard to.
I was about to say it's probably just age, because I feel the same, to be honest.
Yeah, like it's hard to maintain like that sort of sense of enthusiasm all the time. It's not like I've gotten. I mean, the answer when you were asking this question, I was imagining like maybe one of the opens answering this question, and I was just imagining saying something like, well, my biggest progress is mentally is like starting to treat this like a job, looking at every aspect and really dialing everything in, focus, like that sort of thing. And it's just not, I mean, it's just not true for me. For me, this year, I almost hate to admit it, but it is true. I'm like, I am really ready for this year to be over because I'm so looking forward to just like a mental sort of break. Like, I just need to take a break. And but it's also nice to be in this position where I can't take a break. like, well, I could quit. I could always quit. But it's nice to have put myself in a position where it'd be really fucking embarrassing if I did. So, I mean, I don't know if that's a good answer or not, but I've just sticking with it for so long has just gotten me stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. Tech wise, honestly, my technique was always so natural. So I think it was above a lot of people's just naturally. But then, you have one coach and you get a better coach and they help you out. And then maybe you get a better coach. And I'm using better relatively, right? And then I started to work on technique because like that's, I was a world champion. Let's really fine tune some things. Let's dial them in and get even better. Well, it actually fucked me up. I started to get too in my head about the technique and the positions and all this stuff that I lost that ability to just do it. And so, it actually ended up being a good lesson for me because I had to go full circle with that all the way back around to, I'm just going to do it because I've always been able to do it. So why am I trying so fucking hard to do the way it's supposed to, quote, be done, right? And I was having trouble with farmers one time, and I was with Shane, and it was before 2022 OSG when they had that farmers down and back that I absolutely fucking crushed.
I've got a question on that actually. I've actually written that down because I actually watched that OSG under 80s this morning because I'm sad like that. And your time was 14 seconds 59 with 131.5 kilogram in each hand.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you about farmers whether it was always a natural thing to you or had you had to work specifically hard to get good at it.
Very, very natural. So one of my favorite stories from the very first time, it was like the first or second time I'd ever done strongman. Remember, I said I found this gym and I paid this coach. So I was doing in-person trainings with this guy, and this is my number one cue with sandbag toss is just try harder. I could be wrong. We all, when we give advice to other people, we project our own selves. And I always think when I see people throw a sandbag, they look like they look like they're holding back. They look like they feel like they might be embarrassed if something goes wrong. And you have to lose that sense of embarrassment. I think that's something that I don't know if I've ever heard anyone talk about that. I'm sure someone has. But, you're in front of people, everything's on the line. What if you fuck up, all this stuff. And you have to absolutely lose that sense of embarrassment. And I've seen people slip and fall in competition, and their first instinct is to like make a public show of it and sort of make, if I trip and fall, I'm not doing it. I'm blackout. There is no embarrassment. I'm doing my thing. After the fact, I can go back and look at it. But so I was. He told me to like pick up these farmers handles. He's like, take them down there, set them down, turn around, come back. Okay, I did it, came back, put some weight on, did it a few times. Then this other dude who was training, it was a very, very small space, needed to work in. So maybe he threw some weight on and he fucking went down fast and came back. And I was like, oh, am I supposed to do that fast? He was like, yeah. I was like, well, he didn't say that. And I said, how fast am I supposed to go? He goes, well, as fast as you can. I said, as fast as I can? He's like, yeah. And I said, as fast as I can. He's like, yes, like what? And I was like, as fast as I asked him like 3 times. I was like, because I'm about to embarrass myself with how fast I'm going to try to do this, right? I might trip and fall. But dude, I picked him up and I went down so fucking fast there and back. He was like, his mind was, he's like, what the fuck? And I was like, well, that's what you told me to do. He's like, no, that was great. But I was like, well, I just didn't know. So no, farmers for me has always just been like very, very natural. And it was one of those things where I started to get in my head about the tech of it, and it was hurting and everything felt bad. And I was like, dude, this used to feel so good. Why is it feeling bad now? And I was like, oh, because I'm thinking about it too much. Let me just try to do it how I'm just going to fucking do it. Well, dude, when I did it, my whole upper back is so rounded. I'm like hunched over, my traps are like, it looks like absolute shit, but I fucking flew. And I was like, oh, yeah, I just got to stop worrying about whatever the right thing to do is. So, I think there are a couple things that I've broken down because people have asked me and I've been able to help them. But I think in large part, I've realized I don't know how great of a coach I could be because I don't know. If you ask me how to do something, I don't know. You just fucking do it, you know?
Yeah, I was trying to get sneaky tips actually because farmers is something I always leak points on. So yeah, I was after a little few
Well, I
sneaky
will say
tips.
this.
But
I don't think of farmers as a grip event. And those handles at 2022 Worlds were so fucking sticky almost. You know, like they had that powder coating. They were like almost, you know, when the metal's almost rusty. You know what I mean? I love that. So, dude, put liquid chalk on, let it dry, blast your hands with regular chalk, and then turn your hands so far underneath that they just sort of lock. And then if you go fast enough, you don't even have a chance to drop them. You know? That's it.
so I'll skip back to 2019, your year. Was that the first year at OSG Worlds?
OSG, the first year was 2017.
Okay. And how did you do at
Or are
that
you
one?
asking if that's the first one I did?
Yeah, for you. Yeah.
Oh, I did 2018. In 2018, I was coming off a national championship win at 165 pounds, which is about 5 kilos. So I was like a 74, 75 kilo person, so I didn't really have to cut weight. Um, and I was 10th that year, so I took in
And then
2018.
going into 2019, what was your mindset going into that? Did you know you know you was at least podium winner?
No, I never, ever, ever think about that sort of stuff. Not really. I don't always think I'll win, but I'm unable to imagine that I can lose at anything, even something that's not skill based, even something that's luck based. I just think, well, I'm not going to lose, you know, and it's not, I don't know what it is. I've just always sort of been that way. Like, you know, if you and I were at your house and we just got bored and we decided to set up a little game of see who can do the whatever, like anything, you know, like I would just be like, bro, I'm gonna whoop your ass. Like, you know, I just can't. I don't know why. Like something we just made up, and I like so. So I don't. I wasn't really thinking about winning. Although I feel like realistically, I never imagined winning because I guess I didn't think I could. Right. But at the same, it's kind of a paradox. I didn't think I could win, but at the same time, I can't imagine losing. So I'm not half-assing anything. Um, I do remember there were a couple people who I didn't like, who I wanted to beat. And I was like, I want to beat that motherfucker so bad. So I had like these little goals. I was like, I just want to do better than them so they know I'm better than them. And then I thought, well, you know, maybe getting top five would be cool. So, you know, and like I wanted to win the deadlift ladder. I remember that. Because the year before I almost face planted on it. So I wanted to sort of, in my own mind, redeem myself there. And I wanted to beat someone. Um, and I just wasn't. It's funny. It's like, and I've told this story before, and it's like, I don't exactly know how to describe it, but it happens in other areas of my life as well, and I imagine other people's, where something happens, like an event happens, or you remember something, or something comes to mind, and you have this brief moment of like panic, like, holy shit, if I hadn't thought about that, you know, like, or like that was a close one because I just realized something that I really needed to realize, or something like that. And it's usually like mundane things, like maybe I don't know, you forgot something in the grocery store, something like this. Uh, but you know, the first event was it's always a press, Viking press, so I didn't do so well. I can't even remember what these fucking events were now. The second event was something
You have a
else.
death medley in there as well.
Oh, the second event was the deadlift ladder, I think. No, maybe
Which
not.
you won.
Anyway, day two, no, maybe day two was the deadlift ladder. I won the deadlift ladder. I was like, okay, cool. I knew I would win at the time. I was like, I'm just so fucking fast at it. Nobody can beat me. And I did. I was like, all right, good. And then yeah, then it was the death medley, and I did. I think I came in second place to Flash on that, and like I was like, dude, that was hell yeah. And then it was during that, like after winning the deadlift and then coming second in that, I sort of was like, holy shit, dude, I can't believe all I wanted to do was beat someone. I can't believe all I wanted was at least fifth place or whatever. And then I thought, oh, I should be aiming to win. And it was really weird. Like, I mean, clearly I recognize it in time, but it was like, it kind of frightened me. I was like, dude, that was close. I almost didn't think of that or something, you know, like it was
Yeah,
a
yeah.
very weird feeling. But no, I had no one person, someone sent me a screenshot of one person on Facebook because everybody's predicting, and somebody said, Tommy Lovell looks really strong this year. And I was like, well, that's sweet. Hell yeah. Because I had won everything I competed in, that year.
How,
I,
how do you deal with like things like that? Do you feel the pressure at all, or do you put any pressure on yourself, or you just don't care and go out and do what you do?
when I'm competing, meaning like once I'm warmed up and then I walk out and you're in front of everybody to blow the whistle, it all goes black. Like I turn into a machine, like just sort of the instinct kicks in and takes over. So I don't know that what I think necessarily affects that. Um, but outside of that, like when I'm just there or even right now leading up to it, I don't know. So in 21, I was expected to win and I expected to win in 21. I was like, dude, I won in 2019 and I'm stronger and better now. There's no way. And this fucking guy named Ricky Panganaban came out of nowhere and fucking beat me. Well, what happened was I dropped a yoke about 6 inches too early, and that cost me enough seconds to lose a point and lose. So I say it's my own fault. But yeah, I didn't like. I didn't like. It's not that it was pressure, but even my coach was like, he would give us all goals, which I'm not so great at being on a team and having like that sort of a relationship with a coach. But it was like, okay, you need to get top three. You just need to go and have fun this year. Tommy, you're there. You're gonna win. It's like, and I expected to win. I did, but like having that be the story was sort of weird. Um, I guess as best I can, I try to put it out of my head. I don't focus on that. What I end up focusing on, the closer it gets to competition, is the events themselves. I'll fall asleep. Lately, I've been falling asleep imagining log clean and press, um, and stones. So like I'll just do them. I'm just doing them in my head. I'm just like thinking about it over and over and over and over and over. And then my friend Derek Owens, the 90 kilo. Um, he and I bet a lot of the other people do it too, but he's the only other person I've ever seen do it. And I was like, dude, you're doing the thing that'll happen to me, which is like and him too, but we both have like very active imaginations, have a very active imagination. So I'll start imagining myself in the show, and it's nothing specific that I'm imagining. It's just that I'm feeling the emotion all come in, and like the culmination of a year's training, and I'm in front of everyone, and it's finally time, and everything, like you can't hear anyone around you, and you'll almost, like I've started to cry before, like it'll make me cry. And the same thing happened to him. I'm like, dude, we're losing you. He's like, fuck, dude, I'm sorry. Oh, fuck. I was like, it's cool. He's like, dude, I'm so. And we've been, he and I, we're like, he's my best friend, and we talk all the time, and we've just been kind of doing that. I'm like, dude, it's starting to happen. He's like, dude, it's starting to happen. And like, it's such a good feeling. So, not that that's exactly answering your question, but I guess what I mean is there's so much other emotion sort of coming in and being involved in like what it feels like to go and do something that for whatever reason is so important to you that you know if someone else thinks I'll do well, that's great. If they think someone else will do well, that's fine too. I know this year for sure, though, I feel like with my training and everything, I haven't really had any setbacks. I usually get sick or get hurt. Like I always get some sort of back thing that takes me out for a week or two here and there, right toward the end. But Shane is a magician and has like figured out like 3 different areas of my body that weren't working together, and now that they work together, I just don't get those little niggles anymore, and it's insane. I really do believe that wherever I place this year is where I should be, right? I don't think I'm gonna be like, yeah, well, I could have done and this and that, like anything like that. I really, and for me, that's a really good feeling, because if I get first, I know it was deserved. If I get third, then I know that's where I am. It's not like, I don't think there's any sort of excuse or any sort of qualification that I could make on my placing, at least right now. Now, if I get sick next week, I don't know, but no. So I don't know. I don't really feel any sort of pressure from any sort of direction, really.
Yeah, I asked that just because I tend to put it on myself a little bit. So I wondered how if you dealt with it, and I've had a little bit of that myself, where people predict you're on podiums this year, and I tend to come away from social media the closer I get, because I don't like looking at these predictions, because I don't deal with pressure well. So the way I deal with it is by eradicating it, and I'll just go in with a lower goal, and I tend to exceed it. And I always think you should look higher than what you, but that it's working for me, so I don't change it.
Well,
Um,
so yeah, if it's not if the pressure of what people are predicting sort of gets to, it sounds like you must be thinking of it throughout the day. It must, right? Because if you just see something, so what? So it must like keep coming back, like you remember, like, oh, they said this, or you start thinking about that, you start dwelling on it.
don't know. It's. I think it's just a pressure on myself that if I don't do what these people are expecting, they'll think less of me. I feel like that's, and like this year going into Europe, so I had support from Dean McVie and even Chris Harper, and I was like, it was a lot to deal with that these two people were actively saying I'm gonna be up there, and I was like, oh, if I'm not now, I'm gonna look less of an athlete, and I let it bother me, and I do well with it now, because I'll just take myself out of the situation, come away from social media, and I'm fine. So I just wondered if it had ever affected you. And once, while I was speaking to Chris Harper, I asked him the same question, because not many people can answer it, but what was it like to win World's Strongest Man?
Hmm. So maybe like in the moment, I think the only answer in the moment is surreal, right? Like that's the only real answer. Because like, no, I guess that's not. Maybe like, I don't know. It felt exactly how I thought it would, because I knew I'd win, and I'm a fucking prick. But I think I think the only real answer is like, it does feel surreal. It just feels like. But here's the thing. I think you need to define what surreal feels like, and because we might say it feels surreal, and then it sort of romanticizes the whole thing. It makes it seem like very beautiful, and like, but to me, it's almost the opposite, right? It's like we trained for a year, for hours and hours every week. We and even outside of training, you're focusing on like, like recently I've had some digestive issues, and I realized it's because I wasn't getting my steps in. I wasn't walking. Well, now I got to focus on getting fucking steps in every day. Every single thing in your life becomes work, even leisure. It's like, well, let me make sure that I plan this leisure thing around my training, right? So this entire year, we're doing all this stuff. And we're like, really, it's like for, some of us more than others, it's really mentally, emotionally, and intellectually taxing. And you get there, and what do we have? Like the year Chris won it, there were only 6 events. And so if you took the maximum time for every event to complete it, you would only be competing for 6 minutes total. But Chris won, so we know he didn't spend that much time, right? He spent probably the least amount of time as anyone, except for the rep events. So he spent the least amount of time competing than anyone else, right? So he did probably the most work, or a ton of work, the tiniest little bit of work on the floor at the show. And then you're named World's Strongest Man. You get up there, there's this moment on the podium, and it does feel really warm and cozy. You get such an intense feeling of relief, but at the same time, you have to get off the podium because they got to call the next class. And you realize you're just one of many classes, and then everybody else is walking around. And you remember when you go to shows and you don't win, or you go to a show you don't even compete in, like, whatever, you're gonna go get a fucking hamburger after this and not think about these motherfuckers who just won. So it's like it is the surreal part of it is that it's like it's just this idea and it almost doesn't even exist. And I
I
get
always
really
say,
stuck thinking about that.
sorry, I always say, if you was to try and sell this sport to an alien, you'd train for however many months. You quite possibly get niggles, injuries. You lift so much weight. You constantly think about it. You spend so much money. You travel. You have to buy all this kit. You go to the comp. You work for 4-5 minutes maximum. You get a
Hmm.
t-shirt and a trophy, and then you do it all again. You just wouldn't sell it as a sport, would you? But we all do it, and it's sometimes them moments that you're on about there. That is why.
Yeah, I mean it's a little bit that's part of the human condition, right? When I was a kid, we would um, be in a hot tub when it was cold out, and we'd get out of the hot tub and go jump in the pool because it was freezing, just because it would make the hot tub feel even better. So it's like, well, this feels fine. Why do we get out? Because if we torture ourselves for a little while, the relief we get is amazing. So I think we just it's such a crazy. I mean, it really is crazy to think about because if you had everything you wanted, and not even to excess, just like a good life, a good partner, a good routine, you felt secure financially, all this sort of stuff. I don't know about anyone else, but I think it would start to drive me absolutely crazy. There'd be no seasons to your life, and I think it's the seasons. And I feel like I recently have been going through one where I've been like quite depressed. But coming out of a depression is sort of it's something that it lends a new perspective, sort of, right? Like if I were like never sad, I don't know if I would choose that. Um, I say this now, if I win this year, or even if I don't win this year, it's still up in the air whether I'm going to compete again because cutting weight is really brutal for me, and it's just it's like it really takes the place of a lot of other stuff.
How much weight
But
do you
yeah,
have to cut?
well, we don't want to talk about that. No, so for the first time in my life, so I have a really hard time putting on weight, but the last few years or so, the last few weeks into a competition, I'd slowly begin to put on a few pounds, and it's like, well, that's kind of weird. So usually I'll cut to 80 kilos from about 88, I don't know, 87, something like that. I'm not really sure. Somewhere, I can't really remember, but somewhere around there. Bro, 2 weeks ago I was 91. I've never seen, or like 92, I've never seen that on a scale. I was like, what the fuck? I've never been this big in my life. And part of it was I wasn't getting any steps in. My digestion was poor and stuff like that. So for the first time ever, I'm watching the calories and just trying to take a few lbs off before the cut. But usually I cut about roughly from 90 to 80, but not quite. But I'm rarely up to 90, so usually about 88.
Yeah, it's pretty similar to me, to be honest. I cut from 90 and quite a big 80s, and I used to
Yeah.
compete in the 90s. But obviously, no OSG 2020 because of COVID, and then we went into OSG 2021, and our good friend Joe Schofield did a fantastic documentary, and I'd
So
recommend
good.
everyone to go and watch it because it's something that I've watched it a couple of times, to be honest. When I was going to OSG in 2023, I watched it quite a few times because it was inspirational, to be honest, to watching people like yourself, Dean, the twins, Ricky. And that was where we said that Joe called it and asked you the question, what was it like to lose World's Strongest Man? So can you tell me a little bit about 2021 going into that? You said you was feeling confident for the win.
So yeah, I mean, 2021, I was like, I am going to win. I will win. I mean, there was just no because I didn't, and it's happening this year too. There are a bunch of names I don't recognize, but if I don't recognize the name, I assume that's for a reason, essentially, and I'm not worried about them. So I saw Ricky's name, and I was like, I don't know who this guy is, and I looked at his Instagram, and I was like, oh, he's got huge biceps. He's going to lose. Because anytime anyone looks jacked, I'm just like, they're not going to do well because they never do, but he did. And all the other names, I was like, well, they're people I've beaten before, and there's no reason I can't beat them again. And this year, if you remember, I said it wasn't until the middle of the second day that I decided I wanted to win in 2019. Well, this year I'm going to win. So, I just thought it would be, it wasn't even a question that I would win. But I think I came in something disgusting like 17th or 14th place on the log or something. Like I'm just not great at log. So that was the first event. I didn't do well there. Then, what's the second event?
Did you have yoke after that? Oh, was that?
Yoke?
I feel like it was the yoke, wasn't it?
Okay, maybe it was. Yeah, so that sounds about right. Yeah, so yoke. Well, the first day wraps, and I think, I'm in like, maybe I went from 17th on log, yoke bumped me up to like 13th place. And I was just like, oh, dude, I'm not going to win this year. Like, there's no fucking way. It's not even like, oh, I could, if I really try, it's just like, well, just math, the math doesn't work, right? So Shay and I left, and I kind of just left everybody behind. I just kind of wanted to be alone, a little bit. I was just kind of a little bit sad about it. I was like, because nothing like that has ever really happened to me, where like I shit the bed or anything. And so we just went and got like some fast food, and I was like, I just kind of want to be alone. And then we went back to our Airbnb with Derek Owens and Shelly and my friend and my previous coach, Devin Reese. We were all staying together. And we were just all having a bunch of fun, and it really lightened me up. And Derek was fucking being a ham and just being really funny. And it was really, I was like, oh, I feel, fuck it, dude. Let's just have some fun. So the next day, I was like, I just want to have some fun. And then I absolutely destroyed that the death medley. Well, I call it death medley light because they removed one of the implements. I just actually brutalized that thing. And then on the deadlift ladder, I couldn't pull the last bar, but when we went into the third day and they removed the people who didn't make it, I ended up getting like second or third place on deadlift or something like that. And so it was like, oh, dude, like, okay, this isn't that crazy. Then I crushed the fucking sandbag toss, and dude, I mean, my points are just coming up, coming up, coming up. Then it was on to stones, and I really don't look at points. I don't think about strategy when I go out. I just want to fucking destroy. I mean, because I just don't. I don't have the mental capacity to like strategize and think about the scores and go out and just be a monster, right, all at the same time. So if I have like maybe a coach who's watching all the points and he says, Tommy, you only need 6 reps to win, or you only need 6 reps to win this event, and then tomorrow it'll save some energy for tomorrow. I'll be like, okay, well, I'll trust that, but I don't do that. So I don't really know where I'm at. I just know from what I'm hearing, it's sounding good for me. Especially, I think Ricky did pretty poorly on the sandbag toss, so I bumped him down, and like now we're all in this little thing. And I don't know if this made it into the documentary or not. I think it did, but I just knew that I needed as many points between me and Ricky as possible on the stones, and I knew I was going to finish the stones. So Andrew went right before me, and I said, hey, dude, do really well for me. He goes, you got it. Because I thought I would do better than him. But he crushed the fucking stones, dude. So in training, I was one motion the first 3. What's that?
He one motion pretty much every one of them, didn't he? It did make it into the documentary.
Yeah, he one motion the first 4. So in training, I was one motioning the first 3, but that he went out and one motion the first 4, and I said, well, I'm going to one motion the first 4 then. So that's why I one motioned the first 4, and then I was like, okay, now I just need to pace myself and be absolutely sure I finished this. And I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't see Ricky. You'll see people competing and look over at the other person. I don't. If I do that, I'm not even aware of it. But I never saw him, so I didn't know he was like breaking his back or whatever. And this is a really, really funny thing about scoring in strongman, is that because so the podium was Ricky Panganiban first place, me, second place, Andrew Haynes, third place, right? Well, if Andrew had done just a little worse on stones and I beat him on stones, he would still have been in third place. But Ricky and I would have swapped places and I would have been in first place. And it just seems so funny that the person in third, what they do could affect the top two. Because essentially, in a competition between just Ricky and me, there's a winner. So why does the performance of someone else have anything to do with the two of us? You know. But anyway, yeah. So I told him, I was like, you did a little too well, buddy. You did a little too well on the stones. Uh, so yeah. Well,
At the end of that, there was a point where when you finished your stone, you thought you'd got it, didn't you?
so the total honest truth is I had no idea, but I knew Joe was there with the camera. So I just wanted to do it was sort of like, I mean, there is a performance aspect to this, right? I wanted to do something that felt, and it's not like I'd given this much thought. Um, so it's not, this it is contrived, obviously, but it's not as contrived as it sounds. I wanted to do something not iconic, but something like sort of timeless or something. Just turn around, put my hands up, and walk toward the crowd. That could be I finished the stones. It could be I've won. It could be thank you, I did my best. I just, that's why I didn't turn around and scream and do all this shit because I wasn't really sure, but I wanted to do something that just sort of like, I don't know, made me feel good. I just wanted to like wrap up my whole performance with a bow, and it was sort of like a thank you and a sort of, I don't know, it was victorious in a way because I had my arms lifted up, but yeah, I didn't. I really hoped I'd won. I really hoped I'd won, but I didn't.
Then and then you also competed in 2022. You said you finished. Did you say fourth?
I got fourth, but I also got the Spirit Award. So even when I'm losing, I'm winning.
And then you took a small bit of a gap in. How come you didn't compete in 2023? I seen you was there, wasn't you? You was in the arena. I think I seen
Yep.
you.
Yeah, I was there with Odd Objects. Shay and I were running the
Yeah.
booth. We in March of 23, we left New York, so we just packed all our shit in a trailer and we drove down to Miami. We stayed in Miami a month. We lived in Tennessee for a month. We lived in Michigan for 2 months. We came down to North Carolina and stayed here for a month, and then we decided to stay in North Carolina. So we were like just running around trying to get our sort of shit together, and I knew I couldn't have any sort of training, like any real sort of consistent training. I wanted to come off the drugs for a little bit, wanted to come off the training for a little bit. I wanted to just take some time mentally away. And Shane and I did have a mostly serious conversation about the potential of me competing in 23. I was kind of like, dude, I don't know. I think maybe I want to do it. And he's like, well, we can. But at the end, I was like, no, man, it's just like, it's just a lot of stress. And I think I really owe it to myself to just sort of like, just take the break. And
Did you
I'm
miss
glad I
it?
did. Oh, I missed it. I missed it. Oh, horribly. Like I'm just watching, people do stuff, and dude, they lowered our platform for stones for some reason,
Yeah.
which I guess the argument could be made that it's weird that we're doing a higher platform than the open women. But if that's the case, then I think the open women should be doing a higher platform. It seems weird that only our height was changed. I wouldn't mind the heights being lower, but the weights of those stones going up. I mean, just the last week in training, I one motioned the heaviest stone to 6 inches higher than it is in competition. So I don't know. I guess I won't complain about it. But seeing everyone do stones, I was like, man, put me out there, man. I was like, come on, let me go. Let me do a little guest spot on this bag toss. I'll do them all with one hand or something. You know what I mean? So it is difficult to watch other people do something that you feel like you could do really well.
Yeah, yeah. They always tend to finish with stones with every OSG, isn't it? It's pretty much
Always.
an iconic
Except
thing
the year
for
I
it.
won, it was power stairs.
Yeah, so it was, yeah. So it was. So the events this year for you, did they suit yourself?
Log, no. But I like. I like that there's a Trump log because I think it'll make my
Yeah.
life a little easier. Hopefully, there won't be too many of us that will even be in that category. So hopefully, I get top 10 on press just out of the gate, just because I can press it. Um, the yoke, I've got just like these horrendous shin splints, and that's been my issue with yoke all along. Is I can't train it that much. Um, we train it like once a month right now, once every 3 weeks or so. Um, I'm actually going to go run my heavy yoke tomorrow, but I feel really good about it. I feel better than I felt before. Um, the deadlift, I feel I feel great about. I think a few of those guys are going to absolutely crush it. Richard Molnar, obviously, but what else? The sandbag medley. I mean, I just don't know that there's anyone faster than me on sandbags. Like there just isn't. I don't know about this pushing thing. I don't really know what that's going to be like. But I'm really good on those sorts of events.
Yeah.
Wrecking ball, I think we all think we're going to win it because it's impossible to really know. Um, Sandbag toss, I mean, there's no way I don't win that. I just don't think. But to answer your question, I think it very much suits me. I saw that and I was
Have you
like, yeah.
found? Do you find that you've had to make adjustments? Like the older you get, like I'm starting to feel it now. I'm 40 next year. I feel like I've had to change sort of when I watch everyone else on Instagram. I'm a bugger for watching other people sometimes and sort of comparing myself, but they seem to be able to do the 4 days, 5 days training, and it's took me a long time to accept that I can only train three, and that works for me. Have you found that you've had to adjust or not?
No, in 2019 when I won, I was on 3 days. And
Yeah,
every coach since then, I tell that to, and they don't fucking care. And I never understood why. They're like, well, it's just not enough. I don't even know what they say. I just say, well, the year I won, I only trained 3 days a week. And I show them what I did, and it was almost nothing. But everyone wants to put me on 4 or fucking 5 days, and it kept happening. And even Shane had me on a bunch, and finally, yeah, this isn't like disparaging him at all. I think if you can do, and like maybe I wasn't being as honest with him as I should have been about how it was like just. First of all, it breaks me down mentally. I'm like, dude, I can't be in the gym like this, dude. I fucking hate this. But no, I finally talked to him. I was like, I got to go back to 3 days, man. So the I mean, I think the older in your training age you get, the less you can train, right? Um, like if you've been training for a while, you can get strong again real fast and stay strong without much work. But yeah, just getting older, well, yeah, everything does sort of hurt more for sure.
I'm glad it's not just me then.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not just you.
So going into this year, then who stands out for you?
Say again, who's what? Who do I think is going to win?
Who stand? Yeah, well, not just who's gonna win, but who stands out for you as your main sort of the people that are gonna be up there.
Well, I'm really interested to see one of these people whose name I don't recognize and see them sort of because it almost happens every year. It's like, oh, there's some new 80. I don't know if it happens in other classes, but I feel like every year in the 80s, there's like some new person who you're like, what the fuck? Where'd this strong little freak come from? Maybe it's just because more people are our size than the other sizes. But obviously, Chris Harper, obviously, D McVie, obviously. Josh Kovalevsky I mean, I've talked to him a bunch, and from what it sounds like, I mean, he's shown me some videos, and I'm like, all right, Jesus fucking Christ, dude, slow down. Who else? Dude, I'm so bad at it right out, like, just, what's it called? Without notice. Who else is there, dude? Wait,
There's
Ricky.
pretty much
I don't know what Ricky's gonna be like. He tore his bicep, but I mean, Ricky's just a strong motherfucker to begin with. So
so
obviously,
explosive.
Andrew Hanus has gone up a class, so we don't have to worry about him anymore. Dude, he got big too. Um, who else? I think that's it. I think. I mean, I know we're gonna hang up, and I'm gonna be like, oh, there are two people who are like so obvious that I forgot to mention. Why don't you give me some names and I'll tell you if they stand out to me or not.
I'm the same as you. I'm trying to think as quick as you are. Well, I'll
Yeah.
go on to the your all time people that you've competed with. Then I asked this to everyone: who are the top three athletes that you've ever competed with that stand out to you? And everyone that I've asked so far, if anyone has competed with you, they've said your name. So it'll be interesting to see who you think is the top three athletes you've ever competed with.
Damn, I haven't really. That's the thing, man. I haven't really competed that much, which is kind of crazy. Um, but I guess I haven't had to. I'm also not paying attention to anyone else as it's happening. I mean, obviously, I'd have to say Ricky just because he beat me, and it was like so shocking to me. I think it was like a lesson learned sort of a thing. And in 20, I would say in 23, 22, it's so, man, this, I don't know what this makes me sound like, but I don't know. I almost don't think of it as competing against other people in a way. Cause I was like, well, I competed against Ben Donen, and when he was actually appropriately weighed, when he was like the weight he should be before he got too big. I mean, he was just so fucking strong. But at that point, like to me, I considered him like in a different universe than me. I was like, well, he's competing on his own sort of plane, and I'm just over here doing this thing. Um, and Dean that year, the year I got fourth, Dean was a monster too. And Josh is just good. Josh has always been for some reason surprising to me in a way. Not that it sounds bad, but I guess I don't care if it sounds bad because I don't mean anything bad by it. But like, I'm just, I'm always surprised at how well he does and how strong he is. I guess maybe just because I know him and he's just a nice guy or something. But
Quite a few people
um,
have said Josh.
I do really like. So I told you before, I hate knowing scores. I don't want to know the score. I don't want to know where I'm at. It fucks me up. Well, in 2019, the night before the finals, we were like on our balcony in Florida, like overlooking the ocean. And my buddy came outside. He had the scoreboard. He's like, "Holy shit, dude! You'll never guess who's tied for first place." I was like, "Oh, who?" He was like, "You." And I was like, "Fuck! Why would you tell me that?" Right? So I will say, of all the people I've competed against, the most intense moment I've ever had was going out for axle press for reps as the first event on the finals in 2019 and standing right next to Josh, like right next to him, and we didn't even acknowledge each other's presence. So that was, because I think we were both so locked into what we had to do our own that and then we got done and we walked away. I don't think we like hugged each other or anything like that. So maybe just to sort of hijack your question, I would think of all the people I've competed against, I've competed against him the most, and I think it's been the most intense sort of thing. And I think each of us, in our own way, feel like we have a little bit of a rivalry with each other, even if it's not in the strictest terms a rivalry. But I do remember that, and I thought that was because, like I said, when I'm competing, you're never in the same heat as someone and all that sort of thing. Um, but that was the most intense moment. A real close follow up to that one, a close second would be going out with Andrew Hanus on sandbag toss.
There's some like,
Um,
yeah, another
that was real.
captured moment from Schofield, which
Yeah,
is iconic, isn't it? That little scene with Loz's
yeah,
commentary and that.
and it's crazy to understand that it's gonna be that in the moment. Like as we were running out there, I was like, dude, this is so cool. I think the two of us are the best, and we'd even made a video like together. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but explaining bag toss, and we had a fake little rivalry on that. And then, so as we were running out, I realized that I was like, this is so cool. That's why I ran back over to him and I gave him a big hug. I was like, I love you, buddy. Like, and it's just like, this is so cool that the chips fell just like this, and we get to do this. Because he could have gone somewhere else at a different heat, and I could have gone in a different heat. But having two people like that be able to push each other, was really really cool and really special.
Yeah, definitely. It was definitely an iconic moment. That'll be on a reel forever, I think. My next question is a an open question, really. But is there anything that annoys you in the sport, or a personality, an attitude, a way a comp is, anything?
Oh, this is an easy one for me. The thing that annoys me the most in the sport is this obsession with money. Like this absolute obsession with prize money. I just think it's like, maybe red herring's not the word, but I just think it's the wrong place to focus. I think we all want to go in the same direction, but money's not the North Star, right? Money, if the thing you're focused on is money, I don't think people realize this. If the thing you're focused on is money, everything else will shape itself around money, right? But if the thing you're focused on is something else, then everything will shape itself around that. So I personally don't think we as strongman athletes should be getting paid. You know, there are very loud voices, and a few of them, a couple of the loudest, always talking about what athletes should be making, that they're getting taken advantage of, and all this stuff. And I just think it's like genuinely psychopathic. I think it's absolutely fucking batshit crazy. No one's making a fuckload of money off of this stuff. I keep hearing the term cash grab. Well, let me tell you something. As an owner of a company, if I sponsor a show and I can get that show to say you can only wear my grip tops, fuck yeah, I'm going to do that. Like, because that is growing the sport, because that's growing this company, and I'm able to, like, you know, that's how things work. And I don't think it's like dirty, but that's how it works. I think that's a very simple way of how it works. Now, me personally, as a brand owner, my athletes, I tell them they can wear anything they want. They can do anything they want. I sponsor them to support them, you know, because I've approached people about a relationship, and they say, oh, well, this company wouldn't let me do that. I would never say that, but that's just sort of my own philosophy. But I just really think focusing on the money is kind of crazy. I think we're so far away, or at least so much further than we think, from being able to truly make a living off of this sort of thing. And the other thing is, there are so many ways to make a living off of it, right? Like, I was a hairdresser for 17 years. I owned a salon. I got into strongman. I fell in love with it. I invested in a gym, and I became a gym owner. Okay, well, boom. Now I'm making a living off of my sport, right? Because one of the things that got me to be able to do that was winning World's Strongest Man. Now I'm not just an investor. I'm an asset to this gym, right? This company. You could become a personal trainer. You could become an online coach. You could do nutrition. There's so many ways to live your life in the gym, supporting the thing you love to do. Thinking that brand owners are millionaires with unlimited resources that can pay salaries is fucking bonkers. It's just insane. And I don't know. And there's just something, I just think there's just something so gross about this focus on prize money. There are a lot of things that could change, and that probably will change. And, you know, and look, I'm a big believer in evolution, that what will happen, right? So either prize money will continue to grow, or it won't, or maybe it'll grow and then that bubble will burst and people get sick of it. You know, anything that will happen is going to happen. The thing that makes the most sense and works the best is going to work the best. But, you know, I don't know details. This is just sort of gossip, but remember when Clash on the Coast was around, and I've even heard rumors about this with PSL. And so I probably shouldn't have even said that, because I don't want this to go on as a rumor, as this is necessarily true. But the idea sort of does make sense, that the amount of money you're giving away to people winning it's almost too much. So you have to, like, sell the next show to be able to pay the last show. You have to sell the next show to be able to pay the last show. And, you know, they'll approach Odd Objects as a sponsor. And I actually had to step away from sponsoring shows this last year, because here's the truth. There's no fucking return on investment at all. Like, the only return on investment I get is at OSG, where I can spend an amount of money on a booth and sell a bunch of stuff when I'm there, right? But there's still the cost of travel, the cost of lodging, the cost of goods sold, right? I have all these expenses and the cost of the sponsorship. So I've got all this money that I need to clear before my sales even make me any profit. And even then, it's like, it's not that much profit, right? So I don't know where people think this money will come from, is the other issue. Like, dude, I had someone reach out to me and they wanted like $2,000 for like my logo on a shirt. And I was like, they were like, it's gonna be streams nationally. And I was like, dude, my Instagram is seen globally. Like, I don't need to spend a bunch of money to put a little logo on a shirt. But, you know, if there were a way that I could give you a few $100 and get a logo, like, I would love to do that. And it's not because it's going to make me any money. I mean, in some ways, sure, the more my logo gets seen, the more impactful it may become. But there's a very good argument that the people who will know about me already know about me. And I mean, Odd Objects, me. The people who know about my company already will know about it, already know about it. So me spending money, you know, doesn't, it's just, I just don't think people really understand how that stuff works. Um, and it's very upsetting to see people get so upset by that when I just don't think there's, now, I just don't think there's any like need for it. I'm not trying to do this whole thing where, what do you guys say? We're just a car park sport. No, I mean, car park because we say parking lot. Um, not that British people disparage strongman, but you guys say it's really a car park sport. Well, I would say it's a hobby, and you know, so it's not. I'm not trying to diminish what it is. Obviously, I take it very seriously. It's a big part of my identity. It's been a huge part of my, you know, just who I am and what I've done for so long. And I want other people to do it. Um, but it's just, I don't know, dude. We're not fucking soccer. You know, we're not fucking rugby. We're not like, you know, baseball. There's not like, you know, Miller Lite, like Budweiser, some beer company's not going to come fucking dump. And also, if you really fucking think about it, dude, how many people in the world are capable of winning that prize money anyway, right? Let's say there were like, okay, here's a thought experiment. Let's say there are 4 shows throughout the year in different countries, all around the world. Let's just say Strongman is, there's so much money, and there's like a show in America, there's a show in Europe, there's a show in Africa, there's a show in Australia. One in each season. And each of those pays 50 grand to the winner. Bro, you're going to get the same fucking 5 people on the top 5 every single show. So we're not talking about anything other than paying the top few people. You know, it doesn't, it's not like this prize money gets dispersed evenly so that we can all sort of make this living. And it's like, and those of us at the very top are already doing things in fitness that sort of support our lives anyway. So I don't know if you can tell by how long I've talked about it, but I really I'm so fucking sick of the money shit. And I'm
Yeah.
not sure how many people agree with me or not, but I just, you know, it just seems like there's so many other things. And I've talked with a lot of people who agree, and they say like, take the money and put it into a better show. I don't care. I would rather have a $10,000 show than a show in like a shitty little gym that pays me $10,000. You know, like that is more impactful. That's like when people see something cool, that's what captures the imagination, not like money. That's so regressive. That's so, you know, small-minded. It's kind of like it's cynical. I think maybe
I think
that that's all people
I
would
think
care about,
for
or to think that that's
the
all people
vast
would care about.
majority of people say going to
But
Worlds.
that's all I have to say about that.
Maybe not the vast majority, but like for Brits anyway, it's obviously a very big expense. And yeah, for most of us, we're not really looking at podium as such all the time. Do you know what I mean? So a lot of us do just do it for the love of the sport. Really, it'll cost us a few grand to get over there and stuff like that. Maybe, you know, for the ones who are aiming for podium, it's a bit more money orientated. I don't know, but for the majority of people, I think it's for the love of the sport. Really, I don't know how that grows.
Yeah, there
I
would
don't
be
know
a
how the money
really.
side of things grow.
I mean, I think the thing to work on would be to make it more inclusive, right? And inclusive meaning there are people already talking about not going to OSG because of how much it costs to go there. Well, you can't change a flight, you can't change accommodation, but you know, and look, I'm friends with Lynn. I've talked to him. I'm not great friends with Lynn, but I worked with him directly the first year that there were regional qualifiers in the U.S. So I think that was, I don't know, 2021 or something. I don't know. I've seen the spreadsheets on how much this thing costs. it wasn't until 2022 that Lynn even made any profit. The years before, he was losing money. And just nobody understands that. I was on the phone with him the other day for quite a long time, and he even said he never meant to do prize money. Prize money was never the intention. He just said one year there happened to be extra money, and so he decided to make a prize money. He's like, now everyone's obsessed with that number going up and up and up and up and up. But it does, like, if your goal is to find out who's the strongest in the world, it is counterproductive to put a financial barrier between that person and that goal, right? Bro, there's got to be some freaks out there who are just like, well, I can't afford that. Like, there's no way I can afford that.
Yeah,
So
it's one of
how
the
do we include
reasons
them is the question.
it's one of the reasons I'm not going this year. Is one is work commitments, and the other is it's a lot of money for us to get over there.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's a lot of other people like that. I think it's it's between £3,000 and £4,000 for us to get over there, and that. And to be honest, I would have liked to gone this year. I did it last year, and it was my first under 80s competition, and I messed up my refeed massively, and it swelled hands. I couldn't pick the frame up, and it just plummeted me down the table.
And it just ends up feeling like a waste of money.
Not a waste of money, because the experience was good, and that venue was great. It was, I'd come from the 90s of I won England's Strongest Man under 90 on a field. That's how it was, which was great.
Yeah.
And then I went from that. My next competition, I think, was World's Strongest Man under 80 into that arena that we had. So the experience for me was, I'd do it again.
Yeah.
But I would have liked to have gone this year, because I feel like I've competed a couple of times since, and I've got the refeed better, I've got the water cut better, and then I won England's Strongest Man under 80kg, feeling a lot better. It's still a big cut, and then going into OSG Europe's better again, coming second, and I've got so I would have liked to have gone Worlds, because I felt I earned my invite this year, and I think, I was looking at the top 10 thinking, yeah, I can be there this time.
Yeah.
But yeah, money and work commitments is a big factor.
So that made me think of two things. One thing I sort of forgot to mention is it also worries me if we keep focusing on this money thing, and people rightfully or wrongfully complain about how expensive OSG is, that it could end up going away. And there is something, dude, there's no other place, no other time where amateur strongmen from around the world are in one room. And it's fucking cool. It's really cool to be there and just like take it all in and like really feel like you're a part of something. Whether that's worth the money, I can't say. But what I want to do with Odd Objects, as far as focusing on money, is like maybe I would like to sponsor someone to fly them out, pay their expenses to come out and do something like this. Or like what I'm doing with the Canby shirt, and there are a few other athletes that I've been talking to. And actually, it's really funny, they're all Europeans, every single one of them. Selling merchandise that directly benefits them. So I think there are ways to be realistic about the financial burden of the sport without focusing on prize money as the solution.
Yeah, definitely. There is other ways. I mean, I've not like openly come out and put anything on Instagram, oh, it's the money. It's just my personal thing. I've just not got it to spend this year. Yeah. I don't regret spending it last year. Like I said, the experience was phenomenal, and to be amongst all the people that I was amongst and compete against them, and exactly where you are with next to the best in the world, it was priceless to me. Yeah. It's just not sort of, I'm not going to say worth it this year. It's just, I've just got other stuff going on.
I think worth it. I mean, worth it makes sense to me. Yeah. If I wouldn't go if I didn't think I could win. It's one of the main reasons I didn't go last year. I was like, I don't want to go just to have fun. It's a lot of work and money to just go have fun. But I wish it would be in another country sometime. That'd be cool if we all had the same sort of burden of travel to see what happened.
I think it ever will be. Oh.
So the way I'm not sure if you're familiar with the structure. Official Strongman is a company owned by Eddie Hall and his brother and Darren Sadler, I think, unless Eddie Hall and his brother have sold. I don't know, something happened recently, I think, with the ownership. I'm probably wrong about that. But Official Strongman is an English or a British company. I don't know which you say. Train Strongman is a company owned by Lynn, and it's a production company, a promotions company. So Lynn runs the Official Strongman games. Like, he's in charge of the whole show. It's not Official Strongman. Official Strongman has the licensing rights to the World's Strongest Man title, and that's how they sort of partner together and can lend that title to the Official Strongman games. I don't really, I mean, who knows? But I think it would be a lot of work, and it'd be giving up a lot of sort of power to have it somewhere else, because it's not like Lynn can go spend like a month somewhere figuring out where something should be or something like that. Well, I guess he wouldn't have to, but I mean, I don't know. I just don't see it happening anytime soon. But maybe it will. I think it'd be cool. I've always wanted it to be, just for like bragging rights. I tell people like, oh, I've got World's Strongest Man this year. They go, ooh, where is it? And they think it's gonna be like, I don't know, like Belarus or something, you know? And it's like, it's in Florida. Like, oh, they're like, oh. I'm like, no, but seriously, people from around the world go, you know? It doesn't sound as sexy to have something in America and call it a world championship.
It
At
does
least
to
not.
us.
Yeah.
So my last, before we wrap it up, would be just tell us a little bit about Odd Objects, because I've seen that you started distributing over in the UK now. It's obviously growing.
Yeah. Yeah, I just started looking at the numbers, and there were enough sales in the UK specifically that, um, and you guys, I think, have more strongman sort of companies than we do. Um, but yeah, I ended up talking with Charlie Robinson, A. Wilson. I don't really know which way you say that, but she was recently married. Um, and she runs Go for Yoke, which I think is a fucking awesome company. Woman-owned strongman company for women. She makes this grip top that's like a sports bra. That's, I just think, one of the most innovative, cool fucking things there is. And she and I talk a lot about, our focus is on trying to be innovative, sort of, in the space, rather than just, that's goes back to the money thing and all this other things. Like, if you focus on, creating something new, I think everything else will follow. But so she's doing UK distribution, so UK and Ireland, and then I'm also going to be doing US distribution for her, and Go for Yoke. So we're going to be launching that in the next few weeks, probably in the new year. Um, yeah, my goal with Odd Objects. Well, my initial goal was just to make some shorts. I just wanted some shorts that I liked. I wore Reband shorts. They were a little too long. They didn't quite fit right. I just felt like it'd be cool if these shorts were a little cooler. So it took me like 2.5 years, because I designed them from scratch. I designed them, had a pattern maker do stuff, did fittings. It, we have our own patterns and everything. It's not like other things where it's just, you can white label it and get your logo on it. And even now with our shirts, these are cut and sew shirts. So somebody asked me the other day, like, who makes the shirts that you print on? I said, Odd Objects. They're like, yeah, no, they said, what brand shirts do you use? I said, Odd Objects. They're like, no, dude, like, and they were laughing at me. They're like, no, like, what brand? And I was like, Odd Objects. He's like, you make your own shirts? I was like, we make our own shirts. Yeah. So, what I want to do now, or what I want to do as far as the company goes, is to try. Well, eventually, I think I want to do media mostly, and you saw that with Nature Walk. So I'm going to continue with Nature Walk, and just trying to figure out new ways to just do stuff like these collaborations. I just feel like it's a new way to pay athletes, because a lot of companies, when you get sponsored by them, they'll give you, say, $500 a year toward travel expenses, or everybody's got a different number. And I just thought, well, I'd rather not just give them money. I'd rather like make them a partner somehow, like, so let's build a product based around you, and then sell that product, and then that's your money. And if you pay your rent with it, that's fine. If you go to a show with it, that's fine. If you fucking gamble with it, that's fine. That's up to you. But yeah, we're in the UK now, which has been really good. And you guys have an exclusive T-shirt color coming out, so I'll be releasing that at OSG, and you can get it at OSG, and you can get the exclusive because America's got an exclusive color now as well, and you can get both of those at OSG. But after that, you can only get them in your respective country, which seems like kind of a dick move. But I just want to see what happens.
Yeah, pretty much everyone I look at on Instagram is wearing odd objects in the UK, so it's definitely spread.
That's good. I've got so much stuff that we've been working on, and next year I'll be doing a drop every single month. There'll be a new product every month for the whole year. At least that's the goal. So watch out for that.
So actually, this is my last question to you. What is after this year's Worlds? Where do you see yourself going in the sport? Still looking at competing or focusing more on business?
I'm going to be focused 100% on odd objects, like 100%, like everything. I've just had so many ideas and so many things that I've wanted to do that training has been an excuse to not do, or that I've not done and used training as an excuse. And it is true, you know, I can't give. I have a very hard time giving 100% to. Well, you can't give. I can't. You know, give my all to two different things. So I just focus on one thing. And right now it's just training, and it's just been that way for quite a while. So after this year, I'm going to give all of my attention to odd objects, and trying to do more media, and just really trying to dial in all that stuff. Because if I can, the more I grow it, the more we can do for the sport. And, you know, I love strongman, but I also just love making stuff. So I don't want the whole thing I'm doing to get wrapped up in this trite little expression of grow the sport, because I don't even know what that means. The thing I want to bring some beauty to the sport. That's why I did nature walk, and I want to continue to do nature walks. People already run shows. I don't need to do another show. I'd rather make a little movie with people competing in strongman, and then once a year you get to see the new Odd Objects movie, and that's something really cool that no one else is doing, and it's a little something special, right? And right now it doesn't make me any money. I have no idea how it'll ever make me any money, but the t-shirt sales, well, the clothing doesn't make me any money either. Unfortunately. It will.
Yeah, I'm pretty similar to you actually. I'm one of them, whatever I turn my head to, it gets 100% and nothing else kind of matters. And I was gonna, after OSG Europes, I was gonna take a step down from competing because there's other stuff that I want to do in life. Some of it sounds a bit daft, but one of them, I wanted to learn Spanish. I wanted to speak Spanish.
Sure.
I also wanted to learn saxophone. I got a saxophone a few years ago. Started lessons.
Alto?
Yeah, alto. Yeah. I think it's such a cool instrument. Started lessons and then got down the pathways, and that's it. Then it got put aside and not touched since because I was so focused on competing. And I thought, right, now is the time to do these other things. I started a brand myself, Viking Press. I owned the gym as well. I just sold that this year. So yeah, but then after two and a half months of doing hypertrophy training, I feel lost. I feel lost already, and I thought maybe I'm not quite ready to stop yet. So I'm gonna maybe compete next year, go straight into maybe Britain's Strongest Man, and then I'd like to look at going to OSG again. I'd like to right some wrongs that I was telling you about previously.
Yeah.
But then eventually, saxophone. When I'm too old to do this, back to saxophone and see if I can get the best at that.
Very cool.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll thank you for your time, Tommy. It's been a pleasure. Really appreciate you taking the time to come and speak to us, and I wish you the best of luck at OSG. I'll be unfortunately not there, but I'll definitely be watching.
Well, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate the encouragement, and I had a good time. So no thanks necessary. I'll come and talk to you anytime.
Brilliant, appreciate it. I'll stop us recording there, but if you just hang on after that.
Yeah, cool.
So thanks again. See ya.